Hi everyone, this is Yana and thank you for stopping by today. I will be sharing a simple way to create faux watercolor tulips in this video, and I'll use those to create a few Mother's Day cards. I'll share why I need more than one card for this holiday at the end of this video, so be sure to watch until the end. I will be using the Wild Hibiscus stamp set from Melt New and the Best Mom in the World sentiment, and will heat emboss it onto my white cardstock panel. I'm using an anti-static tool and treating my paper with powder. This really helps to keep embossing clean, and it prevents embossing powder particles from sticking to areas they are not supposed to stick to. I've been doing heat embossing for a long time, and I didn't always have this tool, and I can tell you it makes a world of a difference. So if you don't have it, I highly recommend it. It's less than $10, but it will last you for a couple of years and will make your embossing look much better. I'm going to ink up my stamp using clear sticky ink. I'm aligning my paper on my work surface. I'm using the grid lines of my cutting mat to make sure I have everything nice and straight there. And I'm also using the grid lines of my clear block to help align things. I'm going to press my image and stamp it. I'm using brass embossing powder from Hero Arts and covering the stamped image. Going to use my heat tool and heat set the powder to melt it. Brass is probably my second favorite color after gold for heat embossing, and Hero Arts actually has quite a few different metallic colors that are really cool and work beautifully for sentiments and other things as well. So once the sentiment is done, and the reason I did it before I did anything else is so that I could use it as a guide for my flowers. I'm going to use my Brush Art Floral stamp set from Alt New, and we'll begin working on my tulips. This stamp set creates a painted illusion. Once the image is stamped, it looks like it was painted using a brush and paint. There are visible brush strokes, and the finished piece looks just stunning. I'm going to be stamping 3 tulip images today, and we'll use 3 different groups of color. I'm using yellows for the first one, and I have here buttercream, mango smoothie, and warm sunshine. All of these and all of the other colors that I'm using today are from Alt New. I'm going to mix all of these colors, all of these yellows in my stamp to give the stamped image more depth. I'm starting by inking my image using the lightest color, buttercream, and I'm inking the entire surface, the entire stamp image. Next, I'm going to add a bit of mango smoothie, starting from the middle and going down. And finally, we'll add the darkest color, warm sunshine, just to the edges of the bottom part of this image. So I have 3 colors of ink on my stamp there, going from light at the top to dark at the bottom. Going to go ahead and stamp this onto my panel, and you can see how my yellow is more intense at the base of the flower and is much lighter at the tips of the petals. Had I only used one color of ink, I would have had a flat-looking image, while this looks a bit dimensional and a bit more realistic too. I'm making very simple cards today, so it's important to add shading to make images pop. Don't worry if you didn't get this result the first time you stamped it. Practice does make perfect, so be sure to stamp this a few times, testing how much ink you add to the stamp and what colors you use too. Try to use colors or shades of one color that are very close together. This will ensure a perfectly stamped image. Going to switch to the other tulip stamp, and we'll repeat this process using other colors. This time I'm using Frosty Pink and Cotton Candy, just 2 colors of ink, and doing the same here. First inking the entire image with the lightest color, and then adding a bit of the darker color to the edges at the base of the flower. I'm going to stamp this and slightly overlap the previous image to make it look like these flowers are in a bouquet. And you can really see that I was able to make this image pop by adding the darker color to the edges of the flower. Let's stamp our third flower. Again, going to use just 2 colors of ink, Cotton Candy and Coral Berry. So you can see I'm going a bit darker this time. And once again, going to repeat the steps to ink the flower. Go ahead and stamp it, and you can see I have a gorgeous flower cluster. That last flower didn't stamp perfectly, but I'm going to come back to it and fix it later, so don't worry. I'm going to stamp the stem of the flowers using frayed leaf. I'm altering the stamp for the last flower there just a little bit. I love how you can always do that with clear stamps. And I'm going to stamp that last one using the same color. It's time to add a few leaves as well. And for the leaves, I will be using 2 colors of ink and the same technique I used for stamping flowers. I'm using Fried Leaf as my lightest color and Forest Glades as my darkest color here. And once again, inking the image in the same way I inked the flowers. When I finished stamping everything, I went back to my third flower and double stamped it using the lightest color of ink for that particular flower, and that seemed to have solved the problem. You can also use a double stamping technique to add shading to your stamped images. It doesn't always work, but it's a good trick. Just make sure to ink only a portion of the stamp for the second impression. Another trick I like to use for stamping images like these is by stamping the image repeatedly using different colors. Here's a close-up of the tulip stamped this way. You can see some imperfections in there. There's a visible line in between the colors. So again, this doesn't always work, but this is a good option to try too. Next, I used a stitched rectangle die from Simon Says Stamp and trimmed this panel to a slightly smaller one and foam mounted it onto a light pink card base. I used my Pretty Pink Posh clear sequins in different sizes, along with clear droplets to embellish this in one more card I made using the same supplies and variations of this technique. So here's one more look at my Mother's Day cards with faux embossed tulips. This video is a part of a Celebrating Parents card drive and blog hub from Alt New. Be sure to go to my blog or Alt New blog to learn how you can be a part of this card drive and how you can contribute Mother's Day and Father's Day cards. Alt New is collecting these type of cards and will send them to seniors in shelters and nursing homes before Mother's Day. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!